Hello everyone, welcome back. Wanted to talk about the upcoming raid timer that's coming to the February 2020 patch for Citadel Forged with Fire. I know that I would say it's mostly well received. The raid timer is one of the big things in this upcoming patch. There are a few people who aren't necessarily on board with it, but the majority of the community is, and that's important. And like I've said before, I don't oppose it or or unoppose it. I think that it's a fair compromise for now. And here's why I think that. So the challenge with this game particularly is that raiding is it's easy right now. It's easy. The only time it's not easy is on the biggest, most robust bases in the game, which are a very small percentage of bases. Otherwise, it's very simple for someone, especially on the type of server I'm on, just to come in and grind for a few days and be able to start raiding people with like decent bases like mine. And not to say that my base is amazing, but this is what I would consider a decent sized base, to where it should be somewhat of a challenge to raid this base, but it really wouldn't be. It's if someone wants to come raid this base, it'll be pretty easy, just because of the game mechanics. So they're introducing this raid timer so that at least if you're being raided, you have the opportunity to defend your base. It's not offline raid protection because there's set hours. You know when your base is going to be vulnerable and when it's not going to be vulnerable. And so I think it's a fair system. And one of the big challenges of this game versus something like Ark Survival Evolved, so obviously in Ark Survival Evolved, the turrets they hit a lot harder. They're much more dangerous to a player. As a player, even with the best armor on, a few heavy turrets and you're getting shredded. And then, people might say, well, you can do beer runs and stuff. That's true, but you can only beer run so many turrets. And so in that game, you have to use tames to soak turrets or find other methods to take out the turrets, right? But in Citadel, there is no turret soaking. You can sit there. Well, let's say that you were on a tame that could tank turrets really well, right? You could sit there all day soaking turrets, and it's not going to drain these generators. If you have a decent amount of these large generators, it's not going to drain them. And that's not to say that the generators need to be nerfed. They don't, because these things, there's a lot of other things that suck a lot of mana out of these. It's just that turrets, and rightfully so, don't use that much mana when they shoot. So there has to be a way to balance that out. What was I doing? Oh, there has to be a way to balance that out, right? So before, what people were doing was basically just getting in a stack of players, and just healing each other with Sanctuary. And you could out-heal any amount of turrets if you had a few people using Sanctuary. They nerfed Sanctuary a little bit in the last patch, and I'm not positive, but I think that it's about to get another nerf in this upcoming patch. But that's what people were doing before, but that made it where basically they were invulnerable. They could just sit there and cast siege spells. Well, now with the raid timer, at least there's other buffs coming to base defenses, but it should be a challenge to raid a base. That being able to just completely wipe someone out, it should definitely be a challenge. People should have to invest in something before they do that. And at least with this raid timer, let's say like 5 people get together, they want to raid a base. They set up a little turret box to fall back to, and then they actually start raiding the base. So now at least the people who own that base can come out and defend. Even if they don't have enough firepower to thwart the 5 wizards that are attacking them, they'll be able to go out and do something. Like, let's say they're stacked up and they're healing each other and they're sieging. Well, you could drop a freaking geyser on them and blast them all over the place. Use some crowd control spells to push them away from each other. and then maybe the turrets will kill a few of them or something like that. But you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, because yeah, 5 guys, if you go out there and start like casting spells and stuff, you're not going to really do a lot. But you have to use like crowd control or use tactics to thwart them. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the raid timer. It's a fair compromise for the #1 most complained about thing, which is the offline raiding. That's what most people are complaining about on all social media, Discord. It's the most common denominator, and that's why obviously the developers are adding this raid timer, because they don't want people to quit the game and get discouraged because of how easy it is to offline. But you know, there's the other side of the coin of how do we balance base rating, because that's a huge motivator for people to want to play. Anyway, guys, like, subscribe, hoping to post more Citadel content, and until next time.